All right, good morning. It's good to see you, and a little smaller up there at the top, but I'm really happy to see all of you. Thank you for joining today. Happy Beltane. This is one of my favorite days of the year. So welcome to May and welcome to Beltane. It's a really beautiful time, and we are in some very powerful energies just this week. So I really do want to start with some breathing so that we have an opportunity to really dive in together. I am going to be probably, I think, as it feels right now, I am going to be asking you some questions. So you might want to have a journal close by in case you feel like jotting a few things down. You don't have to, of course, but it does feel like there's energy moving and grooving here. So I do want to make sure that you have the opportunity to capture some of your ideas or thoughts. There is a really good, powerful support for us right now. And it is intense. And I'm not going to lie about that because you already know this. So we're in this together. That's why we do this here. All right. Well, why don't we start with some breathing? And then I'm going to pull some cards. And then we'll get into the astrology of the week. And yes, thank you. I had a really beautiful, wonderful birthday. It's my Venus return, my Saturn return, Mercury return, almost my Jupiter return. So my solar return was fun. It was really fun. Okay, thanks for asking. Alrighty. So best thing to do, and again, if you're listening to this later and you cannot close your eyes, don't worry about that. Just bring your awareness inside yourself, whatever feels right for you. Close your eyes if you can or want to. Allow your body a moment to just relax. Drop your shoulders, relax your jaw. Feel the rest of your body as you kind of scan all the way down, all the way to the soles of your feet. And if you're so inclined, you can just drop some roots right down into the earth. If you want to go all the way to the core, the center of the earth, you can, honoring the earth. And from this place, we're going to take some breaths. I'm going to breathe in up through the roots, up through the soles of the feet, expanding the belly. And then exhaling. Breathing in up through the roots, up through the soles of the feet, expanding the belly. And exhaling. Breathing in again, allowing that beautiful healing energy to rise up through the earth, expanding your belly. And exhaling when you're ready. One more inhale. And exhaling. Beautiful. All right. So now from that beautiful place, we can come back in here and we can pull some cards. Just really feel like what is wanting to come forward for the collective today. Our first card is the Empress, which is a Taurus card. There's a couple Taurus cards in the deck. This is one of them. We have the Empress. And this is a beautiful Taurian card. We can also see Demeter or Ceres down there supporting spring. And I just want you to take a moment. If this is our anchor card, what is it we're anchoring into this week? Right? What is it we want to really focus on with our awareness as an anchor? It's an excellent card, personally. I mean, I'm a little subjective, but I really like this card. All right, so I'm just going to leave it there. For those of you that know the tarot, other people call it tarot, by the way. I just want you to know I'm not the only one, but Cambridge English Dictionary. Tarot. For those of you that know the tarot, the Empress card has particular meanings. One of the ones I personally like that I really want to share is to receive in equal measure to how much you give. And for many, 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 many people, there's a lot, you give a lot. And so learning to receive in equal measure or receiving in equal measure feels like a very beautiful reminder and message for this time. So I just offer that to you. And, there are other meanings as well, but that's one of the ones that I particularly like that Angeles Arian taught me through her book. And I'm, very grateful for that reminder. I know so many of us want to give, and I know so many of us want to continue to make really powerful contributions and help others and be in service. And all of that is still happening while we're receiving. Both can be true. And having a birthday actually helps remind us of that. So I think maybe that's why I like birthdays so much. All right. I have the heat on today. Last week it was 96, and today I have the heat on. Very, very interesting. And I went out of focus, but I'm back. All right. So I'm going to pull a couple more cards to go with our anchor card, and just really focusing in right now. I'm going to bring in a little bit of the astrology. I'm going to really focus in and ask about Pluto's retrograde starting today. It just feels like it just went into Aquarius, which it did just about a month ago. And so much has shifted. And the retrograde has its own energy. So we'll talk more about that. But I just thought, well, let's just see what cards come through, or a card that comes through for the Pluto retrograde today, starting today. Okay. All right. This card seems to come up a lot. This card has a lot of different meanings as well. Again, I'm just going to encourage you. I want to encourage you to just look at this card. What do you see? What do you feel? What do you notice? It feels, I mean, I have so many feelings. Wands are definitely an element of fire, which in my world, is creativity, life force, energy. And so I'm very curious. We have a couple people on here that are involved in surfing in some form or have been in the past. And so just really curious how that fits in. We're all surfing something, that's for sure. Right now we're surfing between eclipses. But if we take away the exactness, what else do you feel? What else do you notice? I really do appreciate the art Chris Ann brings to these cards. And I will share the affirmations in the follow-up email. But I definitely feel a lot of energy with that. So that's going to go in our reading here. And I'm gonna so that for Pluto and Aquarius retrograde, it makes a lot of sense to me. So we'll talk more about that after we get into the astrology, but I definitely feel that reviewing. All right. Now I'm going to pull a card. This week we have a full moon in Scorpio. So I'd like to pull a card to go with that full moon in Scorpio on Friday. At least for those of us on the West Coast. All right. Full moon in Scorpio. We have Temperance. And again, I like to utilize art. This is a lot of the ways I pick a tarot deck is how is the art speaking to me? And every deck is different. So every deck's going to have a different feel and a meaning. For those of you that know about Temperance, it's it's a very powerful card. I really like the Mother Peace version of this card as well. But go ahead and just really look into that card and see, what you feel. I guess I better add in the eclipse since it's already in there, or at least it is an interesting, I mean, we've got the full moon, so maybe I won't add in the eclipse just yet, but we definitely have the full moon images here. So lots going on. And there is one of the ways I like to look at this is, and I think it's inherent in this card, is how am I balancing these powerful energies that are moving through? How am I utilizing them in the highest and best way? With grace and ease. And let's add in our anchor card with joy and pleasure. Okay. Pretty interesting. There we've got the moon and the sun. Okay. All right. Now I want to add in the eclipse. So we're this eclipse portal. This will be the second eclipse. So I want to pull a card for that. Pretty amazing, right? Just like how these cards appear. So how is it best to approach the eclipse part of Friday? Fascinating. All right, here we go. I think we've gotten this card recently too, but if not, we have it today. So let's see if I can get it into focus. Well, whether it's focused or not, there's your card. Maybe it's not meant to. There we go. All right, so the 5 of Cups. Now, again, if you know the meaning, kind of take that meaning out of your mind just for a moment. Just look at the image, thinking about the eclipse, looking at the image. What are you noticing? Right? I see there's some. Aha. Thanks, Elizabeth. That's awesome. And it's the 5th month too, just to add a little bit more into that. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. You're awesome. I love it. Okay. All right. So again, what do you feel? What do you notice? What's happening? What's the story here? And how is that story related to you, to your narrative? So I really appreciate this card. One of the things I want to point out, if it comes back into focus, is the bowl that she's holding. It's filled with sparkly light. Yeah, there we go. I really appreciate that. Right? The one that is still there. Beautiful. And even down there, which looks an awful lot like a black hole potentially, or an eclipse, there's something going on, right? So yes, while the traditional meaning of this might give us pause, right? I do think that an eclipse allows us to let go of something, bring something in. It's very, very powerful. So there's a lot to consider, here. And I will hold them up again. We have our anchor card. You have the next card here, Three of Wands. And that one was for the Pluto retrograde. This one is for the full moon in Scorpio, Temperance. And this one was for the eclipse, Five of Cups. Okay. All right. Cool. I look forward to sharing the affirmations with you later. I love them. You know, I love them. They're super fun. All right. Well, what I'd like to do today is just kind of chat a bit about, may not go the whole time today. We're just going to chat a bit about the upcoming month, but really I want to focus on this week. So Pluto retrograde, we don't have a context for this in our lifetime, in terms of Pluto retrograding in Aquarius. But what we can do is we can just look at some of how Pluto is known and how is that connected to us in our lives. So if we look at Pluto as an evolutionary planet, if we look at Pluto as the psychotherapist planet, which I read that the other day and I thought, oh, well, that could work. But certainly Pluto as the planet of change and transformation. Sometimes I feel like I use the word transformation a little too much, because what does it actually mean? And so that's actually an excellent question to have when Pluto is in retrograde. What is transformation? What would transformation look like in my life? What would transformation look like for my relationships, for my work, for my body, for myself? Again, look at where Pluto is doing its beautiful retrograde in your chart, and that gives you a clue. So I know for myself, Pluto's in the fourth house of home and family. Pluto's advent into Aquarius, it felt really hopeful for me, to have a shift from Capricorn into Aquarius. And, I feel more settled here after it shifted. The retrograde does bring up some interesting questions, and as I said in my email last night, things are in flux. Even if I, the Taurus, would like to settle down or feel more settled, there does seem to be a lot of flux. So how do I want to find that foundation in that fourth house? How do I want to create the structure, the support within myself? So that's my read for my house. If you have Pluto in your sixth house and it's retrograding, regardless of the sign, actually, you would definitely want to be looking at your health and your everyday life. And I would say, oh, okay, Pluto, Pluto wants me to change some things. If Pluto's in your sixth house, it's been there a long time. And well, depending on your chart, but if Pluto's in your sixth house, your health, your daily life, how you're living, how you're taking care of yourself, that's been up for a while. So the retrograde asks you to really consciously review, am I doing this well for myself? How am I doing this well for myself? What can I do better? And sometimes, to be fair, Pluto will dig things up that are underneath the surface so you can see them. That's that psychotherapist planet. And so I can guarantee you that there's stuff being dug up underneath the surface already, even before the retrograde started. That's what Pluto does. So I think if we look at this card in relationship to what I'm talking about, it's really looking at the vista, like what is out there. What do I need to see? And so, I mean, I feel that in so many parts of my life, as related to home and family, right? And so, again, you look at the house and you ask yourself, okay, so I know there's change. I've been involved in change. There's been things that are evolving. What's being dug up? What's coming to the surface? It might not be pleasant, but it is definitely important. I just keep having this image in my head, a reminder that Pluto rules the riches of the earth. And so I'll get into a more collective thought about that in a moment. But Pluto rules the riches of the earth, and I keep seeing things bubbling up from underneath the earth. And, in some cases that can be really wonderful and powerful. And like if you want to go soak in a hot springs, right? Those bubble up literally from under the earth. Sometimes, to be fair, we look at volcanoes. Those are things bubbling things up from underneath the earth. And so what in us might be like that? What is wanting to bubble up? What is, it would be great to avoid the explosion of the volcano, right? And is there something that needs to surface? What needs to surface? What needs expression? One of the things about the Pluto going back to the 29th degree of Capricorn, because that's where it's headed. It's at 0 still of Aquarius as it moves back. There is that Sabian symbol that really asks us to be our authentic selves. If we're going to be, here, how are we going to be the most authentic we can be? So in fact, I think what I am going to do is pull that up. Except I have to spell things correctly. I don't know why I have to spell things correctly, but okay. So if we look at 29 and 30 degrees of Capricorn, which is where we're headed, actually, why don't we even just start at 0 Aquarius? I mean, that seems to be the logical place, which in the Sabian symbols will be read as 1 Aquarius. So part of the Sabian symbols, these are esoteric meanings that are given to each degree of every sign. They are really esoteric. And I use Elias Lonsdale's book, Inside Degrees. Very helpful. I also love Linda Hill and her Sabian symbols. Dane Redjar is one of the ones that people really love to read. I have the actual book somewhere over here. But I think what I want to do right now is just look at what Elias Lonsdale has said for where we are right now. So we're getting into this moment of review, right? So one of the phrases he uses for this degree is a schooling in alchemy in every moment. Do you find what is ready to emerge? Progressive evolution draws you through all of your mistakes into all that can be. Okay. So that begs the question, what's a mistake? What is a mistake? So the review process, alchemy, shifting, changing, looking at what's emerging, it is very definitely, how could I do this better? You know me, I tend to skew a little bit more on the positive. I definitely have made mistakes in my life, don't get me wrong. But I like to skew a little more positively. So what could I do better? How can I do better? What is it that now as a collective? So I'm going to kind of bring it pull it out a little bit into this more communal energy. How can we do better? Well, we can do better in a lot of ways. So that is actually going to be the focus for about a year and a half. As Pluto goes back and then comes forward again, we're really going to be looking at how can we do better, right? And if we're in an alchemy school, if we're learning how things shift and change and how we can create something meaningful and purposeful, that is gold or treasure that brings us better brings us better results than what we've had, and also allows us to create a world that's better for future generations. I mean, that's the Aquarian, right? So how can we do that? How can I do that? How can you do that? How can we do that? So that's a big piece. And then the other that I wanted to highlight is where it's headed. So it's headed back into the 30th degree or the 29th degree. So if we think about this in this way, this is not going to happen for another, 250 years or so. So I'm thinking this is pretty important. I'm thinking, okay, we want to, really take this seriously, because I take everything seriously, right? So one of the things that we're going to be looking at is our heightened ability to bring the greater self into action. A huge and formidable destiny dedication to bring all of yourself into this world. Intensive focus on soul evolution. You have something to grow into throughout your life. Ancient ways, unfallen heights, seeing through. The path and journey of ascension, with the body being honored and the world renewed. Okay. The last line is really important to me, because this is where we're going to be for, the rest of this year. But then after that, we move into this other place. So awakening and tapping the source for endeavors, projects, and tasks requires top-level clearance and the truest endowment of inward faculties to see them through and light up the world. Okay. Yeah, Mary, it is really beautiful. So, how are we lighting up our world? How am I being authentic to myself? How are you choosing to live authentically? What healing wants to take place right now, personally and transpersonally, right? Pluto is not a personal planet. It's a collective transpersonal planet. But it's actually technically, I know it's a dwarf planet. That's its category. But I love Pluto. So how can we work with Pluto? So this is an ongoing question. This is just my day where I really wanted to dive into that a little more. We have all year. We have the rest of the year. And when it goes back into Aquarius later, we will come back to that Aquarian element. I'll have to check later, Mary. If you have your chart available, it's the P symbol. It looks like a P. So you can try to, if you can find it, that would be great. So for all of us, where it's transiting is important, but also I think Mary actually kind of brought that to my attention, actually, I think in a different way than she meant to, but I think it's important. Where Pluto is in our own chart, like our natal chart, like where is it natally? That's also really, really important, because that's where we're going to look at those contributions that we want to bring into this world. Okay. So many of you have already had sessions, but again, if you ever want to just do a 30-minute session on Pluto, let me know. I can send you a link for that. We can look at this very specifically, so that you have an idea of like, oh, hey, where is my radiance? Where's my evolution? What am I bringing into this world? And really just focus there. I remember there was one time last year, where we were really diving into Pluto, and I was using Stephen Forrest's book on Pluto, which is great, by the way. If anyone's looking for a Pluto book, Stephen Forrest book titled Pluto, excellent resource. There are many, but I particularly like that one. So again, we have time. This is not moving quickly, but it is important. So I wanted to connect with that energy. All right, I would be remiss if I did not talk about the full moon and the eclipse on Friday. Reminder, Jenna Monaco's full moon ritual. I believe, let me just double check the date on that. Well, that's a good question, Denise. Let's find out. I will find out since she's not with us right now. Anyway, I really rely on those full moon rituals that she does, and I love them personally. So it's going to be on, looks like it's going to be on May 5th. Let's look. She still has tickets available, I think. Let's find out. Oh my goodness. Okay. There's like a whole thing happening, but yes, it's on May 5th. So it is virtual. All right. If you're interested, I will, I'll put something in there. Actually, I'll just put something in the recap, after I do this. Wow. There's a lot out there. Okay. Total distraction there. Coming back. Full moon. So this full moon really emphasizes, I think it's in Scorpio. So, Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. So you start to see like, oh, these are kind of weaving together. What is emerging? What is emerging from the depths? What are the shadows? Where do I need to look? Where do I need to connect? Where do I need to remember the healing and the transformation? The other thing that I particularly really enjoy about the full moon in Scorpio is there is an intensity to it. I would encourage every one of you, because you're all very sensitive beings, to be really mindful who you spend time with on Friday, and over the weekend. It is a very powerful energy. And how do you want to be during that time? What feels, I guess it's my Taurus self, like what feels safe, what feels comfortable, what feels alive. The intensity is going to be there, the emotionality. Any water moon, which would be Scorpio, has a level of sensitivity and intensity to it anyway. So how do you want to spend your time? What would feel good? And so that's why I'm thinking full moon ritual is not a bad idea. I think it's a great idea. Spending time intentionally, whatever that looks like for you. I flower mandalas, because we're in Beltane, right? That's the other piece of this. Flower mandalas on the earth, being able to create something and bring in the earth energy. Really wonderful way to celebrate this particular full moon. And again, I say celebrate because full moons actually are meant for celebration. They can dig deep and they bring up stuff, particularly this one. And there's still, there's a celebratory aspect to this, because we're here on this planet and we're celebrating life. With Scorpio, the other piece that I like to look at is this is the full moon where we would want to honor our ancestors. Really, when I say that, what does that mean to me? What does that mean to you? It's going to mean something different, maybe, to each of us. What it means to me is, contemplating, reflecting, uh, deepening into my connection with them. If they so choose to come forward that day or any day, that's good. But I think about the fact, honestly, I think about the fact that so many of them suffered, and somehow I'm still here. Somehow I got here. So a lot of, I mean, this is not unknown for me to think about on a daily basis, but on the full moon in Scorpio, I definitely am thinking about this. This feels so important to me to just say, wow, thank you. Thank you for all that you've done to that I may have this life, that I have this life here. And it's particularly poignant to me this year, because, turning 59, Saturn return. My grandmother, who I was really close with, she passed away when I was 7.5-ish, around 7. And she really is the first person from the other side who came forward in my life. She was with me, and she would, visit and talk with me. And fortunately, nobody in my family thought I was too crazy, and so didn't try to talk me out of this. Thankfully, I am so grateful for that, because it's very real, very real. She came as comfort for many, 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 many years. And I'm eternally grateful to her for that. And the reason this year is particularly important is she died when she was 59. So I often think about that. She was so young, especially now. Um, and I'm just really grateful that I had the experience of her when she was in her body, because she taught me so many things: how to crochet, how to play the piano, how to make candles, all these really wonderful things that I wasn't going to learn any other way. And she was patient. She used to make me dresses, all of that before I was 7. She lived 3,000 miles away. So it was hard, sometimes to be that far. But when we would spend time with her, it was really special. So when she passed and was on the other side, which is another aspect of this Scorpio full moon, her being in the other realms, I was with her all the time. She was there with me when I needed her. And I definitely needed her during that. Yeah, the rest of my whole childhood, but definitely needed her presence on a daily basis. And so when we move into this Scorpio full moon, the veils are very thin. And so if there is someone, it could be a parent, a grandparent, a friend, an animal, a beloved animal, could be a child, it could be, anyone in your life that has really been a powerful, positive influence or support or whatever that is. This is a really, really good time to be present. Perhaps a message will come through. Perhaps you will be able to connect with that being or that person. To go a little deeper on this, it's also possible that if there are parts of you that scattered at some point due to some form of trauma, which happens to everyone in varying degrees, right? Those pieces can be called back. And so if that's something you want to put into your full moon ritual for Friday, there's parts of us that, when something traumatic happens, there are parts that go away, that are, they don't always resurface right away. So if there's anything in you that is healed and wants to come back in, this is a good time. I mean, we could use that Pluto retrograde as well as part of that. And again, for anyone who's really struggling with a lot of trauma, I'm obviously going to recommend an excellent expert psychologist who has a spiritual connection. And I actually have a really good person that I would refer to for that. So if anyone wants that referral, just let me know. Working in these realms, it is really important to have support. Absolutely. We can do things on our own. Many of us are solo practitioners in a lot of ways. And I have a lot of support. I have a lot of teachers and mentors, a wonderful therapist. There is so much support that I absolutely desire for these journeys that we're taking each and every day in this lifetime. So I highly recommend that. And if you need any referrals, just let me know. Obviously, being present is your first and foremost tool for this whole thing. What is it that I'm here to hear or feel or sense? As we move into the full moon energy, and, remember, I get to live through this too. So as we move closer to the full moon energy, what is surfacing? What's coming in? How is it coming in? What do I need to pay attention to? And, again, it does help to know your chart. Mary, I will send you a quick text when we're done. But if you are uncertain of your chart and you just want a quick, if you're a returning client and you just want a quick half an hour, just let me know. I'll send you a link. That said, now, as we deepen into this energy, there is also a great deal of pleasure here. So I get really serious. That's my Saturn. I get really serious, but there is a lot of pleasure. We're still in Taurus. This is our time. This is our time. This is why this card showed up. It's like, hello, pleasure, pleasure. So what is pleasurable? What feels pleasurable? What is, and that can be different for everyone, by the way. There's no one right answer for that. What is pleasurable? So focus on that also. You don't have to just do all the Plutonian Scorpio stuff. We want to bring in our Taurus love. Venus rules Taurus. So having that relationship with Venus, what is your relationship with pleasure? What is your relationship with beauty? What is your relationship with art? The other name for temperance is the art card. What is your relationship with music? Did I already say music? All of the arts, all the things that bring beauty into the world. Yeah. So what is your relationship with those and how can that be enhanced during this time? Money is also ruled by Venus. And so you can also add in what is my relationship with money? One of my favorite books, which is over there, It's Not Your Money by Tosha Silver. Great book. Love that book. She has a wonderful abundance prayer at the beginning. I think most of you have already read that book, but just in case you haven't, I really like that book. And there are so many more. I have a couple of her decks as well. Oh, right. So, that's another thing to do on the full moon, right? Pull cards, always helpful. And anyway, coming back to Taurus, coming back to pleasure, coming back to the earth. What is your relationship with the earth? I had planned on doing some gardening this past week. Didn't happen. It was 96 degrees. It was a little too hot for me one of those days. It was really hot last week. But I can appreciate the earth. I love that all the leaves and the blossoms and the flowers, everything, at least here, is finally spring. California is what? Like the most massive, like wildflower explosion ever. If you are anywhere near that, please, please, please send me photos. I love flowers. And so that's a very Venusian and very Taurian thing, is to engage in the earth and gardening, and this feels really good. So probably, I know it's supposed to rain all week here, but the temperature will be right, and I'll probably get out there and pulling weeds. Okay. So pulling weeds, that's more of a Scorpio thing, right? But it's all a part of it. I got to pull the weeds out. I need to make space for the beauty. Not that Scorpio isn't beautiful. I just want to make that clear. Scorpio, Pluto, all beautiful. Weeds are just things you don't want. If you want them, if they're pretty, keep them. I'm just looking out here. There's not, anyway, I need to pull those weeds. But again, what do I need to, how can I make more space for more beauty, for more pleasure, for more love? Did we talk about love? Venus is obviously the planet of love. So, where is love? What is my relationship with love? What is self-love? Taurus is really about our own self-love. How do I love myself? There is, and I know you're going to understand this, there is no better practice for self-love and really, really loving yourself than looking in the mirror. Right now, I have Libra rising, so that also probably is reflected there. Look in the mirror and really, and Zoom has probably done this for us anyway, because unless we turn off our self view, which we can totally do. But if we don't turn that off, we are looking at ourselves. But how can I look at myself in the mirror and love every inch of myself? That is a wonderful practice. It's not an easy practice sometimes, believe me, but it is a really important practice. I know it's my Libra rising coming through too, but Libra is ruled by Venus also. So, love, how do I love myself? How do I value myself? So again, lots there to look at. When you are contemplating the full moon, you're going to look for where it is in your chart. And it will be midway through Scorpio. And so for me, I believe it's conjunct my Neptune in Scorpio. And so it's going to illuminate and bring the Neptunian qualities out, which are visionary qualities, but they can also be foggy qualities, and they can also be very sensitive qualities. So there's a lot of richness in that. And if you do sign up for Jenna's full moon circle on Friday, she does an amazing booklet, very similar to the one, well, similar but different. It's very beautiful. She's just an incredible artist. So I don't have that piece when I do the Wake Up with Your Inner Goddess booklets, but the idea of how is this full moon playing out in your chart? She's got that beautifully written as well. I think you have to sign up for that extra. So just keep in mind if you decide to do that. But again, where is this full moon in your life? Where is just like we look at the new moon and Wake Up with Your Inner Goddess and create magic, where is that new moon happening? So the full moon, where is that happening? How is that happening? So for me, it's in the second house, which is the Taurus house, but it's ruled by Scorpio in my chart. So I've got a bunch of really important missions from the universe to love myself, to honor myself, to honor my visionary capabilities, to deepen into the mystery, to deepen into the question, to deepen into the unknown. There's so much richness here. This is why I do astrology, right? I love this. And so honoring that starts with loving myself. And so, looking into the mirror is so important. And again, every inch, it is a powerful practice. It's not, and I will tell you, it's not an easy practice, but it is really powerful. So those are my thoughts on this just this week. Just this week. Okay. It was a really amazing week. So I think what I'd like to do is I've proposed a lot of questions along the way here, but just as just as we're here right now, and as we deepen into the cards and the planets, and we honor our relationships with the planets, bringing in Pluto, bringing in the moon, obviously, bringing in Venus, the sun, obviously, bringing in our connection to the cosmos. And just take a moment right now and just ask yourself, where in my life do I want to honor myself more? Where in my life do I want to honor myself more? I'll type that in. And what is my relationship with love? Self-love. What is my relationship with beauty? I can spell it right. Maybe not. Art, music. My own value. Money. Wealth we put with Jupiter. Jupiter will be going into Taurus soon, so we'll come back to that question. The North Node is still hanging on in Taurus, I believe. Let's just make sure. I believe it's still there. It's going to cross over soon. Yeah, it's still in Taurus. So, and what is surfacing in my life that wants to be healed? Okay. Collectively, how am I facilitating healing for our Earth to continue for future generations? Thanks, Shannon. Amazing. Woo! Fascinating. So we are on this powerful, powerful journey. It is a powerful journey. And I am grateful for each and every one of you, and also for your willingness to take these deeper dives. That is, whether we like it or not, Pluto's taking us on a deep dive, so we can enjoy it with some pleasure, or we can fight it. And I don't recommend the fighting of it per se. Now, there are other ways we might look at how we are wanting to create evolution. That's a whole other conversation, like collectively, right? So yeah, we are in this together. I am so appreciative of you all. You're amazing. And for those of you listening later, we feel you. We hold a space for everyone here. And I'm just always so, so grateful. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and end the recording, and then I'm going to take a few minutes. I'm going to answer a couple of questions, and but I'm just going to end the recording now. Let me see if I can do that easily.